Hello there. What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about Armada Clone Wars, trying to wrap up and kind of consolidate information. If you haven't been able to catch any of the live streams or catch a whole lot of the information, or maybe you missed bits and pieces, I'm going to try to encapsulate all of that into today's video. If you are new here to the channel, be sure to click that subscribe button, leave a comment, and that automatically enters you to win one of my giveaways. There's a huge one going on right now for a $100 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is be a subscriber, leave a comment. Actually, I'm going to be announcing the winner of that on Sunday, but there's new giveaways starting all the time, so if you don't win that one, don't worry, there's plenty more. If you are interested in supporting the channel, there's going to be links down in the description below. You can follow me on social media, Patreon, great way to support the channel. Also merch, if you're interested in buying one of these awesome masks like Boba Fett or Darth Maul or t-shirts or all kinds of stuff like that. I've got Armada shirts. All of that is down there. Okay, that being said, admin stuff out of the way. Let's just dive into everything that we've learned about the Clone Wars for Star Wars Armada. We're getting two new factions. We're getting the Galactic Republic and the Separatists. Each of them are going to kind of have a very much a symmetric release, and that they're each getting their own starter and then a squadron pack to go along with that. The squadron packs are going to be about kind of what we've kind of expected, in that you're kind of getting aces and bombers and escorts and things like that. But we are also going to be getting a full-fledged starter, 3 ships, 2 mediums, and 2 small ships. We're getting an Acclimator and 2 consular cruisers in our starter. That's really exciting because it's not a 2-faction starter like the original starter was, right? You're not stuck getting only 1 victory if you wanted to play Empire. You're now going to actually get 3 ships in your starter. Now, the price point is still $100. And that is going to turn some people off, but honestly, considering, you know, maybe you're getting slightly less plastic, because I think the actual plastic count gave you a little bit more squadrons in the original core set than on this one. However, this is still a very good deal considering that it's a single faction entry point. So it's giving a new player, for the same price, they're getting a lot more to the faction of their choice this way. In addition to just the ships, though, it's going to have everything you need to play the game. And that's what's important in a true starter, as opposed to just an expansion. It's going to have maneuver tools, it's going to have dice, it's going to have tokens, it's going to have templates, dials, all of the things that you're going to need to have to get the game running. Also a damage deck. Now, they haven't talked about the damage decks yet. You know, and I'm curious why it's not shown. I wonder if they've maybe refined the damage decks at all, or if they're exactly the same. But regardless, that's one of those items that you just haven't been able to get anywhere else. So this is now a new place where you can pick up a damage deck as well. But here you go, you're going to have, here's a nice kind of look at what you're going to get in that starter as far as the plastic is concerned, because you're going to be getting these ships. You're also going to be getting 4 of those V-19 squadrons behind you. If you want more squadrons than that, you can pick up the squadron pack. And that is going to come with some Y-Wings, some V-19s, some extra V-19s, of course, some ARC-170s, and Delta 7s. And in addition to the standard loadout of cards, they actually are going to have a little bit more in the way of ace pilots for these. So you're going to have actually a little bit more variety on how you want to configure these, which I think is a pretty good way to go. We don't have an exact listing of all of them. We will see Luminara as one of the pilots in one of the squadrons that we kind of get spoiled a little bit, but yeah, they did kind of talk about that. One of the goals was to provide additional aces for some of the pilots for those squadrons, which is good because, again, you're pretty far behind the other factions, so you kind of have to play catch up, and that's a great way to do it. Now, as for our actual ship cards, they are going to be resized. They're all, actually every card in the game now basically is going to be that standard LCG / baseball cards, you know, the same size as basically squadron cards for regular Armada now. Upgrade cards, which were small, are now going to get a little bigger. Ship cards, which were big, are now going to get a little smaller. Every card will be the same size now. One of the things they've done here is they've put relevant ship information as it applies to gameplay on one side, the kinds you see in the background, and in the foreground is going to be the back of the card, which has stuff that you need about the ship when considering list building, such as its upgrades, the art on the card, as well as keywords. Traits is what they're calling those keywords now. Traits is a new mechanic that really doesn't have any built-in function all on its own. What the traits are hooks for other cards and other keywords to be able to reference. So, for example, this Acclimator is a clone ship, and it also has transport. But those don't mean anything on their own. You know, one of the questions that was asked, actually asked by myself, as a matter of fact, was, wouldn't all Republic ships have clone? And that's not necessarily going to be the case, because there are certain ships that will not necessarily be clone-based ships, such as ships that existed perhaps prior to the creation of the clone army that were crewed by crew of the Republic, like the Red Consular class cruiser, for example, like we see actually right over here. And it doesn't mean all Consular class cruisers are going to have the clone keyword. For example, this Charger C70 will have clone, but then maybe the red version does not. So they're looking at different ways to kind of change the way that alternate versions of ships kind of function. In addition to just having different dice and different arcs, it can also have now different traits, which is actually a pretty cool way of kind of changing, slightly tweaking your approach to the game. And here we get a kind of another look of some of these the different card art that we've seen spoiled already. And actually, it's a pretty nice little bit of movement on that Consular class armed cruiser that we see behind there. So I'm kind of digging that. And here we have a little preview of some of the squadron cards that we're going to see. We're going to see new keywords on some of the squadrons. The V-19 Tauren actually looks like a really solid and well put together squadron. It's not bad at all. The Delta 7 has Adept, which is a Jedi keyword, giving them a little bit of extra reroll, I believe. And Dodge is a new cover keyword. And behind them we can see Luminara as well. Now, for the Separatists, they're going to follow in suit and have pretty much the same general layout. Of course, no, I didn't say General Leia, I said general layout. But yeah, they're going to have pretty much the same kind of standardization across the board here, just except this is going to be different ships. So they're going to start with the Munificent, and they're going to have 2 hard cell class transports, and then, of course, 4 Hyena droids, or no, I'm sorry, those are Hyena bombers, Vulture droids. Hyena bombers are in the squadron pack, but also you're going to have the full starter stuff. So if you wanted to play both factions, you buy one of each of these, you're going to end up with 2 movement tools, because each starter is going to have all of the stuff you need to play the game. Presumably, most players aren't necessarily going to want to jump into the game and play multiple factions at the same time. So that's the good thing about this kind of setup. Here you get a close look at these ships, and I honestly think that these are really, really nice looking ships, especially the sculpt on that Munificent. It looks absolutely gorgeous, so that is pretty exciting. And of course, so your squadrons here, you're going to get the Tri-Fighters, you're going to get the Hyena Bombers, you're going to get some more Vulture droids, and you're going to get the Belbalub, which is the ship that General Grievous flies. If you guys have played X-Wing, you've seen it already show up over there as well. And we get a little bit of a look at some of the ship cards. You'll see that it's obviously they don't have the clone keyword over here. They have the droid keyword over here. And of course, presumably, just like how clone might not appear on every single card for the Republic, droid might not appear on every single card of the Separatists. Certainly, droids were numerous, but not every single ship in the entire Separatist Navy was, it's not like they didn't have any organics. So, it's entirely feasible that they, well, for example, if you look at the Neimoidians, well, actually, they had, never mind, they had a lot of droids too. Well, I can't think of one off the top of my head because I don't know that much about the Separatist Navy, but the point still stands, is not necessarily everybody has to be exclusively droid in the Separatists, but droids are going to be pretty common. And we get a look at a couple of different squadrons here. We've got some, this is a named Vulture droid, but the Vulture droids, the generic behind has this AI Squadron 1, and basically the AI is a way for them to kind of have a quick keyword that's going to say, if you're activated by a squadron command, you get a bonus. If not, if you're activating during the squadron phase without being activated by a squadron command, then not as good. And so that much is pretty interesting. And the AI can come in a lot of different formats. Like this guy has AI Anti-Squadron, which is going to give him a little bit extra Anti-Squadron dice. But then there's other ways that they can use AI for like AI Bomber and things like that. And so you can maybe get an extra ship, anti-ship die if you're doing AI that way. And of course, this one has Intel and Swarm and some extra keywords and stuff. So anyway, the squadrons look pretty cool. We're also getting a dial pack. The dial pack is going to have, as you can see kind of on the box art over there, it's going to have movement dials, it's going to have command dials, it's going to have round counters, which, I don't know if that many people need round counters, but so be it, because you usually just use a D6 or something like that. and also a couple of pass tokens, and it does seem like those pass tokens are weird because we've only used those in the Super Star Destroyer before, because it's the only huge ship in the game, and theoretically huge ships will use pass tokens, but the pass tokens is likely going to be like a new mechanic, or because there's certain rules tweaks, and we're going to talk a little bit more about those, at least refinements to the rules, things kind of standardized a little bit. And for example, I wouldn't be surprised if something like Strategic Advisor were to give you a pass token, as opposed to just you tap the card or something like that. Maybe, who knows? We're also getting an upgrade card collection. And the upgrade card collection is going to feature every single card that has appeared in the game up until this point. It's like 290 cards. It's a tremendous amount of cards. Some cards will have duplicates, although they haven't told us exactly which ones will have duplicates yet. I would imagine cards like Turbolaser Reroute circuits and cards that are in high demand will have duplicates in the upgrade card collection, but they have not come out with that exactly, so don't hold me to that one specifically. Now, all of these cards are going to be resized. For the standard stuff. Granted, all your old stuff is still legal. Of course, if it's been errated, you're not going to be able to use the old wording, which I think goes without saying. But this is going to be for new players and veteran players alike. New players are going to want this because, hey, I don't want to have to go buy all these other ships to get all these other old upgrade cards, because all your generic stuff, sure. But all your faction-specific stuff is also going to be in here, at least for the upgrade cards. And we're not talking about ship cards. Ship cards will not be in here. All right, this is just upgrade cards. But the other reason that they're going to want all of this stuff is primarily because maybe you want all your cards to be the same size. Some people are going to have problems with this because this does constitute a change. I'm like, oh, you're resizing all of my cards, and now I have to come up with a new storage solution, and I could see that being a problem for some people. But I honestly think it makes sense in the grand scheme of things, and as a long-term decision, to have all the cards the same size. It probably just makes a lot, instead of having 3 different sizes. Because I think at the end of the day, you probably end up with kind of breaking even. As your ship cards were way too big, and on the back of them, what was on the back of your ship cards? Just, an Imperial logo. You wasted the entire back of the card. So now they can actually put relevant information on the back of the card, make them smaller. So I like that. Here's an example of Grand Admiral Thrawn. He is technically not changed. He's functionally the same as he's always been. But one of the things they're changing here is they're adding some new material to these cards, such as this blue box on his left-hand side. That's the symbol for command dials below the 3. And what that means is he's going to start the game with 3 command dials. Of course, you'll choose those command dials after deploying. So they've kind of reworked the way that his ability works, but it still works the same way. But they've standardized this because there's going to be other cards in the game that start with stuff, and that stuff will show up on the left-hand side. And then there's other things that will happen during the game, like costs and stuff, which will be in a red box on the other side of the card. Certain cards that have been errated in the rules reference guide, for example, like Turbolaser Reroute Circus was changed, I believe, 2 years ago. Now you'll get the errated version, so you can actually read the card and have it actually do what it says, as opposed to be like, no, that card doesn't do what it says. It actually does what the internet says it does, right? So having errated cards is going to be handy. Basically, we got a new symbology up here next to Turbolaser Reroute Circuits, the name, and that's that little exhaustible. This is basically the symbol that says you can do this once per turn. You're going to exhaust this card in order to do it. That's what that symbol means. Of course, it also says that you would exhaust this card, but they're kind of streamlining some of this stuff. Leia Organa, is a great example of how some cards in here are going to actually see changes or points cost reductions. Leia Organa is getting a points cost reduction because she was horridly overpriced. Some people, upon seeing this, have said, man, I think she's still overpriced. Well, maybe so. And when asked about changing prices and costs and things like that in the future, the response was, we're absolutely willing to consider that. That's something that we're, have no problem doing. So even though this has changed for right now, this reflects a pretty good estimation of where she should be. It doesn't mean that this won't change again in the future someday, although it doesn't necessarily have to, I agree with them changing the printed point cost for now. However, they're not going to just keep changing. They're not going to release a new upgrade card pack every time there's a points change. They'll probably do it in the same way that Star Wars Legion does it, whereas, look, the points that's printed is good enough for your kitchen table game, but in tournaments, you probably want to reference these, the updated points on the squad builders and things like that. If they ever get to the point where they do that, we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. Xi7 Turbo Lasers. This is an upgrade that has actually seen a all-new errata, so this one has been changed a little bit. Not drastically. It still keeps the spirit of Xi7, but it makes it a little bit less debilitating, especially for cards that specifically help you with your redirect. So Xi7 says, while attacking, if the defender spends a redirect token, it cannot suffer more than 1 damage on each hull zone other than the defending hull zone where when it resolves the redirect effect. So what this kind of does is, if for example, you can potentially have stuff in another place. So if you were to for example, if you were to equip advanced projectors, which is an upgrade that lets you do to basically put stuff to multiple sides when you do a redirect. Now all of a sudden you could do like one to this side, one to that side, and one to the far side. So it actually it's still viable. Xi7 is still strong, but it's not completely completely destroying one of your defensive retrofits, which is good. I feel like that's a good. Now it makes it more of a soft counter instead of a hard counter. All new cards are also going to be showing up in the sets. Now this one is not all new to the card pack itself. I believe this one is in the Separatist starter. But this is munitions resupply, and this is an example of like how an all new type of card will work. First off, you'll want to note that this is a fleet support. Based on its little icon over there in the bottom left, which is something that you've only seen on flotillas in the past, but one of the hard sell versions will actually be able to take this. So that's actually kind of cool that different types of ships can have more roles depending on which version of the ship you're going to take. But it looks like it's going to start with 5 concentrate fire tokens, which you're going to see over on the left-hand side. You have to exhaust it to use it, hence the exhaust symbol on the top right. But it doesn't have the double arrow, right? Because the only way you can actually ready this one is to pay the cost of either a concentrate fire engineering or nav token, and that's what the red box is for. So that's pretty cool, and this is one that's going to basically let you hand out some concentrate fire tokens. You can do it just one time, or you can do it maybe multiple times, but you're still only going to start with 5. You're never going to get more than 5. But it all depends. Like if you're running 5 ships, maybe you just do it once, give everybody 1, you're done. But maybe you've only got 3 ships and you want to be like, I'm just going to give out 2 this turn, maybe 2 another turn, and 1 more later. Well, to ready it and keep using it that way is going to be a cost to kind of keep shuttling your droids back and forth, handing out extra munitions. Reactive Gunnery is a new upgrade that is not faction specific, so it can go anywhere. As a matter of fact, I don't believe munitions resupply is faction specific either, so yeah, there you go. But Reactive Gunnery is a little bit simpler. This one is exhaustible once per turn, and this one, hence the double thing, is it will ready itself at the end of each turn. Very cheap defensive retrofit. This is probably my favorite new upgrade out of everything that we've seen, because it's going to let you salvo. Even if you don't have a salvo token, it lets you spend another token and use it as a salvo. I think of something like this being really good on those small ships that have a defensive retrofit option, like a CR90 that is up close and can't use its evade tokens anyway. And so now I can spend one of those to do a salvo, which is really cool. So I really like Reactive Gunnery. Now, these were not previewed during Gen Con. We have a couple of cards that were previewed during, I think, not long after Adepticon. They were kind of handed out to the Armada Discord. But I wanted to include them because they are also cards that are coming with the Clone Wars. We have Commander ObiWan Kenobi. And he says, while a friendly ship is defending, it may spend a readied redirect token, and it may reduce the total damage by 1 before it suffers damage, which is a really nice ability to have, especially when you're getting pinged for like 1 damage at a time. You don't even have to actually lose any shields that way. We've got clone gunners. At the time when we first saw this, we didn't know what clone only meant, but now we do. And the interesting thing about that is maybe like something like this that allows them to make a ship that, this would be really good on that red consular cruiser. Oh, but that's not a clone ship. All right, now it kind of allows them to kind of control potential balance issues by using these keywords on ships, which is pretty nice. And what these do is a weapons team for only 4 points. When you do a concentrate fire command, you can discard a token assigned to another friendly ship at distance 1 of 5 of the defender. If you do, add a blue die set to the accuracy icon to your attack pool. So from a certain point of view, hey, it's adding an extra die. It's pretty cool. Kraken, we've got a separatist commander here, and once per activation, while a friendly ship is attacking a ship, if another friendly ship is at close to medium range of the defender, the attacker may change 1 die to a face with any one icon and no other icon. So you're not getting the double hit or the hit crit on a red or black. And then Wat Tambor as an officer, separatist. Engineering command, you may spend up to 2 shields from any of your hull zones or 1 hull zone on another friendly ship at distance 1 to 5 to gain twice that many additional engineering points. So he's just trying to rip stuff apart from everybody else to kind of build something greater. And those were cards that were previewed a while back. Now, after the live stream, a couple more cards were actually previewed on the articles that came out for the Clone Wars. We got a commander for the Republic, Leia Organa. When a friendly ship reveals a command, you may discard up to 1 token of each type from this card. For each token you discard, that ship gains 1 additional command dial, matching that token's type. So basically, he's a 28-point commander, which isn't too bad. He's going to start with 5 tokens. It looks like you can choose either nav or engineering, any combination thereof. So maybe 5 nav, 1 engineering, maybe 3 and 2, maybe all 5 of 1, something like that. Presumably. There will be an online rules reference update. They're looking to move to a living rules reference guide, which will allow them to make changes in a lot more real time, a lot easier, a lot quicker. Maybe not real time, but maybe like quarterly or as they become necessary. And basically, he's almost like a miniature Thrawn here, right? Like you can potentially get more than Thrawn, but you can only get 5 total. So if you've got a whole lot of ships, then you're going to give everybody an extra dial once. But you can ultra concentrate it and maybe give somebody give 1 ship an extra nav and engineering command dial. That's pretty cool because that effect is stronger than the tokens effect. So I kind of like what he's got going on here. He looks really fun, and he gives you. I'm somebody who loves to run the concentrate fire command, and I feel like Leia Organa is a great excuse for me to take pleasure in just running the concentrate fire command all day long and not having to worry about any other commands. And then if I do need something else, I can get help with that from Leia Organa. We get a title for an acclimator called the Implacable. 4-point title. Looks like once per round you'll be able to use it because it's going to auto refresh after you exhaust it at the end of the round. Before a friendly ship or squadron at distance 1 to 2 suffers damage from an attack, you may exhaust this card and spend up to 2 shields from your front hull zone to reduce the total damage by that amount. So it can kind of extend its shields around a nearby friendly. So that's actually really, really cool. This is good for protecting that ace squadron that wants to go on a bombing run. And we're seeing lats an awful lot in some of the art. So it's kind of cool to look at some of the art and think, I wonder if this is a hint of things to come. But the Implacable can kind of extend its shields or to help that consular cruiser that wants to get up into close range. So I like that. We got a T-Series tactical droid for the separatists. It doesn't start with anything, but it does have the cost to exhaust or to recover it. So the red symbol means you can exhaust him, but in order to ready him, you're going to have to pay a command dial, it looks like. When you spend only a engineering, nav, or squadron commands token to resolve a command, you may exhaust this card. If you do, resolve that command as if you had spent the dial of the same type instead, which is really interesting. So he's letting you transform a token into a dial. Of course, you have to feed him a dial in the future to do that again, but maybe you can. Or maybe there's other upgrades that will ready upgrade cards and ignore their cost. There's a whole lot of new opportunities that this new type of layout can help. And of course, we get a Munificent Title. It's only cost 2 for the Tide of Progress 12. Before you are dealt a face-up damage card with the ship trait, you may exhaust this card to discard that damage card without resolving its effect, which is really, really nice. Off the top of my head, I don't really know exactly how many ship trait damage cards there are, but that's still pretty cool. And of course, this one, you exhaust it, it's not going to ready unless you pay an engineering token. So, or that might be an engineering token or command. So maybe you'd be able to do a command dial also to do it if you wanted to. I'm not sure if that one, again, we'll have to see when we get the rules reference guide if that, can only be paid with a token or if it can be paid with either. Presumably, though, you could always just cash in a dial for a token and then be able to do it that way. So that is just about everything. Everything that is coming is still looking for December. So I believe December, I want to say December 20th is when they're currently, 20th or 22nd is kind of like the target date right now. So it should be arriving just in time for the holidays. If you're celebrating Christmas, this will, if it arrives on time, will definitely give you a Merry Christmas, hopefully. Yeah, and then the prices, they're $99 each for the starters, $24.95 each for the squadron packs, $24.95 for the upgrade card collection, and then $12.95 for the Armada dial pack. Important thing about the Armada dial pack, it does look like future ships are not going to come with dials. This is not as much of a problem for veteran players, but they recognize that new players are not going to have 10,000 dials sitting in the box in their garage, like I do, right? So that's why they have the dial pack. But at the same point, like even if you do pick one of those up, how many are you really going to need, right? How many builds are you going to run that are like more than 5 ships that really need that many dials? At a certain point, it just becomes ridiculous. So I think it's actually a very a great way to reduce waste and reduce cost and reduce weight as far as shipping is concerned. I'm not convinced that translates into cheaper ships for us, but prices tend to go up over time anyway. As long as we don't see, as long as it kind of sustains the game and allows them to continually producing it, then I'm fine with that. And eliminating waste is fine. So I have no problem with the Armada dial pack. I think it's actually a sensible and good idea. The last thing I want to talk about in this video is the little teaser that we got for the next wave, which is coming first quarter 2021. Now, last I heard, this is actually scheduled for January 2021, but they did not say that at Gen Con. They didn't say January specifically, because I think they're just trying to be sensible and like, hey, let's plan for the worst and hope for the best, right? But yeah. So this is super exciting that we're actually going to be getting our Venator, which is, look, everybody's been hoping for the Venator for a long time, right? So we all knew that was coming. We're getting a Pelta, and funny thing is, in that art, it's a little bit hard to see, but I had said something in the chat that that Pelta looks like it's got open wings or open arms, and this was talked about, and I think there was some confusion about what I said or whatever, but they're like, yeah, we wanted to make it look different than the regular Pelta. I'm like, well, the regular Pelta has open wings too, but they may have actually the wings kind of folded up, to resemble more how the Peltas were configured to look in the Clone Wars animated series. So I think we'll see a slightly different sculpt on this Pelta, but we'll have to see. And of course, we're going to get the Recusant Star Destroyer on the far left, and the Providence, or I believe this is the Invisible Hand, Grievous's flagship, or one of, for a while, one of Grievous's flagships over there on the second from the left. So, and this is all stuff that is going to be, coming first quarter 2021, January if we're lucky. So exciting. We don't really know much about these, but that's very exciting. And if it does come in January, I know a lot of people are thinking, boy, these single faction starters, that's only going to give us 2 ships per faction. It's going to be really boring. Well, yeah, it will be really boring, but I mean, it's a great way to get you started. But you're not going to have to wait very long to start adding more ships to your fleets, because within a month or 2, you're going to have 2 more ships per faction. So you're going to double the number of ships available. That's going to be plus new commanders, new upgrades, all that other stuff. All that is going to be coming, right? So that is a pretty big deal. I'm kind of excited about that. I'm curious if you guys are too. Let me know what you think down in the description below or in the comment section. I think that's all I've got for you guys today. All right. I know it was kind of a longer video, but there was a lot to kind of take in, a lot to talk about. as new Clone Wars information becomes available, I will be doing it. Before somebody asks, "Hey Crabbok, why don't you do what to buy first for 2021 or for the Clone Wars?" I'm like, okay, what to buy first for the Clone Wars? This and the upgrade card pack collection. Done. Right. So my what to buy firsts are really easy to do right now. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video. Go ahead and let me know what you think in the comments below. Share it with your friends. Click that bell for alerts. And if you want to know more, check the comments section or the description of the video. You can find links to my Patreon. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. And as always, have a great day.